Greetings, this is Ty Brown with Athletic Director U, and I'm joined here by Wren Baker from University of North Texas and Jeff Compher from East Carolina University. And we'll talk about fundraising. Jeff, I was told that the people who give are the story. So how do you make the development process about the specific donors?
Well, that's a good question, because I think you have to really understand who your donors are, what their interests are, why are they even involved in your athletics department. And you have to do that by getting to know them through relationship building. And you don't want to ask someone for a gift for a golf facility if they've never picked up a golf club. So that's where you really need to get involved with them and understand what kinds of things they're looking for, what do they value, what do they prioritize, what do they remember about their experience as a student or possibly as a student athlete. So how do you get them involved? And some of it might be as a family. What is their family interested in? What's their history with the university? What have they invested in before in your department? And so you have to accumulate a lot of information, especially when you're looking for a leadership gift or a major gift, those kinds of things.
I would echo a lot of what Jeff said. I think, the biggest thing is developing those relationships and getting to know those people. And so, who are their children? Where do they vacation? When was the first game they went to? Who in their family taught them how to give, how to be a donor? Right. I always feel like that really helps me understand what their motivation is. And usually, like, their father really believed in this, or their mother, somebody impactful in their life. But I think the more time that you're able to just spend listening before you ever pitch anything, just listen. And I know every AD has a different style. Chris Delconte says by the second visit, if he hadn't made an ask, he's wasting time. But for me, I really want to wait until I feel comfortable I know that person, and then can best package and sell what we're trying to do to them.
Okay, and when we talk about developing those strong relationships, how do you manage the input that these donors have manage that input in terms of major decisions and those kind of things? Right?
Yeah, that's tough. Listen, the first thing is, if you're going to ask people to invest, you have to realize that they're going to have an opinion. And I really try to set the ground with our donors that they're donors, not owners, and that they get a say. I will always take their call. I will always listen. But you've got to make the decision at the end of the day that you feel like is best for the organization. And 99% of them respect that. Okay. There's always a few that when you pick up the phone say, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, and then they spend a good deal of time telling you how to do your job. Listen, they're invested. They care. And when I was at Missouri, we went through a lot in the year and a half I was there with the boycott and other things. So we took a lot of donor calls from people who were angry and upset. But you look at Missouri now, and they're posting record fundraising numbers because they identified people that really care. Right. And so as long as you can take that information, digest information, I always say, I understand your perspective, but here's what I'm thinking and here's why. And listen, it's not perfect. I have some of the same conversations over and over again, but that's generally how I approach it.
And it's a big part of the job, I'd imagine, too.
It is, and I look at it as I value their input, because if their name's going to be on something, I want them to feel good about it. And in some way, they fulfill an ambassador role for you, because if they feel involved, if they can tell the story because you've given it to them in an understandable and straightforward way, and they can go out and do the same with other people, then maybe they may bring some more people to the table that care about it as well.
And I will say this, it's been an adjustment for me, having been an AD at 2 Division II universities a long time ago, but most recently being the deputy AD at Memphis and Missouri. It was different for me to say, well, this is what Tom is thinking, or this is what Mac is thinking, when you're talking to donors saying, well, this is what I think. Mm-hmm. That took an adjustment. Kind of caught me off guard the first time or two, because being the middleman is a little easier than when it's like, well, here's what we're going to do because this is what I think. So for those that are out there who are looking to move into the chair, that is a little different conversation.
Yeah, and good fundraisers like Wren, when he was in that role, would always be able to say to their AD, they need to hear this from you. Yeah, right. They need to hear it from the AD. I've said it, but it'll help a lot more if you actually explain it. Mm-hmm. And having that kind of a relationship with your chief fundraiser is really important.
It's important, it is.
Yeah.
I understand. Technically, how do you determine the balance between the annual fund, capital gifts, the excellence funds, and those specific categories of where donors want to put their money in?
For us, what we look at, our first priority is our scholarship giving, and that's through our annual fund. And that's the whole purpose of our Pirate Club. That's what we built it around, is funding our scholarships. And so whatever we do in any other fundraising efforts, our goal is not to hurt that fund. So we don't want people to take from what they were giving annually and then maybe, give somewhere else, so we lessen the impact that we've had on our scholarship giving. So that's very important for us. So when we talk about capital giving especially, and we're in the midst of a capital campaign right now, so I can speak to that, what we're really saying is this is over and above what you have normally given, and we may do some creative things with points and those kinds of things so that we incentivize them to give, make a capital pledge or gift, but at the same time not to take away anything that they've done from the annual fund, which some giving them would require annual fund contributions at a certain level. So if you want access or your name on this, then you have to give at a certain annual fund level, which I've seen work and I think can work, but I think those kinds of things have to be decided with early buy-in from people at the front end of the project.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that is I think the education piece is really critical for your donors and your staff. I bet there are head coaches on most campuses that couldn't tell you the difference between a major gift and an annual fund gift, and and making sure people know, okay, this annual fund gift goes for these things. Whether it's scholarships, most places it's scholarships, but whatever the case may be, academic support, and these capital gifts. Here's what we're trying to do with this campaign, and I think you have to differentiate those. If the donors understand, if you pull this money away from annual giving, here's what we lose. I think for the most part that they'll they'll rally behind that. I also am of the belief, the trend in college athletics has been major gifts, major gift, major gift, because there has been this big facility boom. But I think at the Autonomy 5, it'll start there because the multimedia rights is capping off. I think guys who can run a successful annual fund are going to be worth their weight in gold. Like I look at, if I was the AD at one of those places and I knew my rights fees were going to level off, but the competition was going to, if I could find a guy who could, give me 10% growth in my annual fund, pay him whatever it costs, he'd be the highest paid guy in my department. So I really feel like you're going to see a little bit of a shift in the priority from places from major gift specialized people to annual giving.
Yeah, because like you said, it's the foundation of
It is.
everything, I guess it is.
Grassroots fundraising is really important because most of the time your major givers are going to be in there somewhere. I mean, they're not going to come out of the blue for the most part. So how you work them through your annual fund giving levels and those kinds of things, and the amount of contact that you have in variety of ways, whether through media, through personal contact, through other forms of communication, that's very important in that process.
And the annual fund is so much more complex because it requires a great database manager. It requires somebody who's good at analytics, who can run the numbers, and plus somebody who understands how to manage relationships and how to form a staff that manages relationships. I think the job is one of the most complex jobs that we have, and I don't think we've always put the priority there that I see moving forward on the annual fund.
Yeah, the glory isn't in the annual fund. It's in the high six or early seven-figure givers. So, I mean, when you get those, that's great, but I'm going to tell you, for those of us who have played offensive or defensive line, the line play is where it all matters, and that's the annual fund.
So thinking about the future and what people call the facilities arm race, where do you guys see it going? And is there a way to, I guess, hedge the arm race outside of just raising a whole bunch of money? I mean, what do you guys think about the future of that?
I don't see it ending. I really don't. Now, I think so many institutions have leveraged themselves so heavily on revenue streams like TV contracts that aren't guaranteed to keep escalating, and in some cases, like in Conference USA, I mean, they're a fraction of what they used to be. And so I think that will slow it down a little bit, but I don't ever foresee, it's just like, people building a bigger house in a bigger neighborhood and more, that's always going to appeal to 18 to 21-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids. And so people are always going to be pushing to add something new, to do something different, to be creative, to distance themselves from their competition. But I do think you'll start to see, and we're starting to hear a lot nationally, a lot of the Power 5 guys are having to contribute a significant amount of their revenue to campus. I think you're going to start to see a little bit of, pulling some money away for campus, that'll level those guys a little bit, and that'll have an effect throughout athletics.
Yeah, I think we'll start to see more targeted at our level, at the G5 level, whatever you want to call it, but the non-autonomy group. In our conference, we call it Power 6. But what we're starting to see is more targeted capital projects. So right now we're in the midst of a press box and premium seat renovation for our stadium. Once that's moving along pretty well, we'll probably end up seeing some other project that really matters, but doing them simultaneously is maybe not an option. Once one is built, then what's next? I think you're going to answer that question. What's next? Not, how many can we do at the same time?
Right. Well, this has been an interesting conversation, gentlemen. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us here at Athletic Director U, and just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.